peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Since the war broke out in South Sudan in 2013, a lot of experiments or peace process have been brought in place. The first experiment collapsed with two armies going at each other. The peace process died. The second peace process came. We managed to go to get what we have got right now. There is a peace process, a semblance of peace holding. How long it will hold, we just don't know. But it's upon the people of South Sudan and the international community to help the people of Sudan to pump in resources needed to sustain the peace process, which is so fragile that it could actually break. And once it breaks, it makes matters worse for the region. South Sudan remains a sick child of Africa. A sick child in the sense that senseless killings have taken place. Over 380,000 people are not traceable. Accountability has been overshadowed by political machinations. How long can this take on? How long can this stay? How long can this happen? And how shall we control it? How do we bring it to a conclusion? A peaceful, stable South Sudan. My proposals range from funding the government to sustain the projects of peace process that we agreed, changing the peace model by bringing the UN special envoy in the region, fully equipped, logistically equipped, supplied, mandated to keep law and order and have sustained the peace process, the ceasefires that are there. If that can be done, South Sudan will be stable. If that stability does not come, then it is up to the world to decide another method beyond what they have done so far. And that method is accountability through the courts that will deter any further occurrences of a war. Thank you. Viewers, welcome to Punchline Africa Television, broadcasting all the way from Kampala, Nairobi, Kigali, and Tripoli. Wherever you are in Juba, thank you, good afternoon. Viewers, this is Diplomatic Leaks, a show that brings together behind the enemy lines, behind the diplomatic lines, what is going on in South Sudan. We are appealing to the international community. The show is going to be extremely short, precise, to the point. Ours is to appeal to the world. Yesterday, we did not finish it conclusively. So we have revisited it this morning in Diplomatic Leaks because there are interested parties on the panel. With me on the panel is Professor Onyali, a conflict resolution maker also, a man who has studied the conflict like I have done. And then we have Miriam in the studios, far away in Nairobi. Then we have in Mombasa, we still have our correspondent who says she's very interested on that subject of South Sudan because she knows the suffering of the people of South Sudan, and it bothers her so much when she sees a neighbor who is always in chaos. So we talked of a transitional government having a shaky ground. Welcome to the show, all of you. Professor Nyali, test the microphone. I caught you off guard. The microphone. Just it is your time to test the microphone, sir.
Yes, I hear you, Dr. Masangalo.
Yeah, thank you very much. Mombasa, are you online?
Yes, I am, Dr. Masanga. This is Karen Joseph from Mombasa.
That is now you are clearer now. I think yes. you have moved away from. You are clearer. You are being heard.
Yes, I've started everything.
Thank you very much. Daniel Wesonga, test the line.
Yes, very, very good afternoon, Dr. Matsanga, Miriam, and Professor Gerard Onyari. So we are good.
Okay, Miriam, give us a background.
All right. So
to this so-called revitalized peace agreement in a nutshell. Then we start from there.
All right, so revitalized peace agreement, and just sometimes back in May, President Salva Kiir said that the country's current leadership have not lived up to the expectation of its founding fathers. He said this on May 16th, while marking the 37th anniversary of the South Sudan's Liberation Army and its political wing, the South Sudan's People's Liberation Movement. Now, South Sudan seceded from Sudan in 2011 after 21 years of bloody civil war. But just 2 years after independence, the country's leaders, mainly from the ruling SPLM party, plunged the country into a civil war that has displaced over 4 million people, some as refugees and others as internally displaced persons. So while marking that historic day, President Kiir recalled the country's fallen heroes and heroines such as founding father Dr. John Garang, Demabior, and others for contributions to the revolution. However, Kiir was quick to say that given the country's civil war-dominated history, all the current leaders have let the country down. And I think that should include President Salva Kiir himself.
Yes.
Yes, President Salva Kiir there, he said during when they were remembering, marking the 37th anniversary of South Sudan's People's Liberation Army and its wing, Sudan People's Liberation Movement, he said that the crop of leadership right now in South Sudan have left down the people of South Sudan. And I think that should start from him.
First of all, we have just discussed corruption. Perhaps time has come for us to extend this corruption syndrome to the entire African continent. What led to South Sudan to reach where it is, Professor? And the panel. Let's find out why a country with minerals, a country with production of oil, the war took part of that production, yes. But everybody, when you see the amount of resources that have been accumulated, by this country to reach a state where they don't have even money to pay civil servants, doctors, money to pay health workers. What happened to the money that they collected from the oil? I think these are the questions. But since we are in a dire situation, in normal circumstances, we could have started asking those questions. But now we are in a very terrible situation. The one of the most terrible situation is we don't want to disrupt the peace. So we are handling the baby with very careful hands. That every utterance, every word that we utter from our side, we must be very, very careful not to utter words that will disrupt the peace process back in Sudan. That said, let's look at what ways can we call on the international community to come and help. Are we helping the people who want help, or we are helping the people who want to go to war? It's a very important question there.
Very pregnant question.
Are we helping these guys who want help, or they feel is the chemistry between Riek and the Salva Kiir working? Is the chemistry working? Miriam, the letter that you are talking about was signed yesterday. In fact, the one I have was yesterday. It is yesterday that he handed in his letter, 12th of yesterday. It is he himself who sent me the letter actually, that he has formally left. He has left Riaka's party. He has left the government. He doesn't want to see anything, to know anything about South Sudan. That's the letter that came yesterday from the guy himself. If I'm not mistaken,
so he formally resigned yesterday because
Can I send it to you? Onyari, I think you have the same letter. It was written yesterday when he quit. I think the other time he had just threatened.
Okay.
And then he was told to keep. But yesterday, 12th of July 2020, he sent it himself. He sent it to me. He said, publish it. He has left. He doesn't want to know anything. Basic rights, accountability is zero. We have talked about accountability, both of the war crimes and other institutions where accountability is needed.
And perhaps,
you cannot have a peace process which is shaky. I leave it to you, Onyari, and others to discuss.
And before Onyari comes in, Doctor, because I think that letter that you're mentioning there is very important, and brings out a number of issues. And our viewers, in case you're wondering, we're speaking about the Deputy Minister of Interior, Mabior Garang, who resigned, citing insecurity and lack of political will to implement the revitalized peace agreement. Mabior was appointed in March together with other ministers in the revitalized transitional government of national unity to implement the peace deal that was signed in September 2018. However, crucial provisions in the accord, including security arrangements, are yet to be implemented, and the government is only partly formed. And the principal peace parties, President Salva Kiir and the main opposition leader, Dr. Riek Machar, are yet to, of course, they've allocated some of these things. But after his appointment, Mabior had threatened to resign from the government if the peace parties failed to implement the security arrangements in 8 months. So this former Deputy Minister of Interior there in South Sudan, he's just living up to the promise that he made, that if if President Salva Kiir and Riek Machar do not show a political will to implement the revitalized peace deal in 8 months, then he will quit. And can we say he's a man of principle there? He seems to have just, lived to the promise that he gave, Professor.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that good question, Dr. Masanga and Miriam and Daniel Songa and Karen from Mubaz. We did mention and I want to thank Dr. Masanga because he has cautioned us not to say something which will jeopardize the peace of Southern Sudan. If it could have been my class teaching my students on peace and conflict, I could have not spared them. But I want to say that we need to wish Southern Sudan well. We need to provide resources. What the Deputy Minister said, what Mabiola has done, is not good for the interest for the people of Southern Sudan. You have to persevere. You have to endure. Because in any event, even if you are saying that they need to implement this peace agreement, we need to do first. They have to build trust. They have to build cohesion. They have to trust each other. So is demanding too much within a very short time. It should be in and help. And when you are in an agreement, things don't work on the way you want them to do. You don't give conditions that if that doesn't work, then I will quit. So what I want to say that what Southern Sudan needs now is for people to have security. People who have been displaced to return home. We have to have all the social cohesion of the social fabrics of all the parties who have been involved in the conflict. So to me, I don't find this one, I would never be kind to him. I would urge him to retract the letter and go back to negotiating table. Once you have agreed and you have appended your signature to an agreement, and it is not working, you say, ask for time out. We agreed on this. It is not working. Why is it not working? Why have we changed the positions? That's how we can be able to help Southern Sudan. And all the actors to the conflict must be able to ensure that they put South Sudan first. And I've said here and again, the whole world will get tired of Southern Sudan. Imagine, Miriam, more than 400 people have died. How many more people do they want to kill so that they talk about peace? More than 4 million people have not returned to their homes. So my recommendation, let him just, for heaven's sake, for the sake of peace, retract the letter. Let us try to build trust first. Let us have social cohesion. And if there is another time that the world needs to support Southern Sudan, it is now. The darkest hour in the night is at 5 o'clock in the morning. That's where Sudan is. We should support them. So, Mabiola, please retract the letter and go back to the negotiating table.
All right, and the key thing that he raises there, Professor, and perhaps Daniel, you could respond to this, is the intention to implement the peace agreement is lacking from the leadership of, of South Sudan. That will be President Salva Kiir and his deputy Riek Machar and the rest of stakeholders there. He's saying they lack the intention to implement. It is not because it is slow. It is not because they are a bit of challenge. But he's saying these people do not have the will to do this. That is what he is saying, Daniel.
Yes, I think, Miriam, I'll tend to differ with Professor Jared Onyari on this one because when you look at the negotiation, the peace process in South Sudan, it has taken ages, and this has been a ping-pong game that has been ongoing for quite some time. And perhaps when you see Mabiola Garang saying that the intention is what is lacking, then that's a very, very valid point of concern, because on any negotiation table, we do we need to have the intention and the goodwill of both sides of the negotiations. We need to see willingness to support the previous agreements that you went into. So, and when Dr. Mazanga has sent the letter, I've gone through it, and I think those are very, very valid points the young man is raising. And those are the key principles that the country, South Sudan, was found on through the late Dr. John Garang. And those, I think, from my perspective, those ones should be irreducible minimums for any negotiations to bring peace in South Sudan. Without implementing whatever issues Mabior has raised there, then there will be no lasting peace in South Sudan. For South Sudan to see unity, for South Sudan people to unite, to stamp out tribalism and all kind of corruption in the government, then those key points that Mabior has highlighted there should be implemented. And I think that is what is best for the people of South Sudan. And on another point, Miriam, I think Dr. Riek Machar and Salva Kiir need also to look at the bigger picture. You know, they say that if as a leader you perceive yourself as the only uniting factor for a country, then as well you could be the problem of that particular country. So they should look at the bigger picture. They should put the people of South Sudan first and be able to look at the agenda, and which is peace and prosperity for now. But from my perspective, I think the gentleman there has a very, very valid point, and both sides should listen to whatever he's airing and be able to address it.
Thank you so much, Daniel. And I'm looking at that letter. This is a resignation letter, not as the Interior Minister, the deputy, that he did on 3rd of June. Let's just be clear. So this one is he resigned from the party of SPLMA-IO there, but he resigned from his position as the Deputy Minister of Interior on 3rd of June. But yesterday he resigned from the party, and this is just some of the reasons that he's saying that Dr. Riek Machar was a critic of nepotism and favoritism, but appointed his wife as the Minister of Defense. This decision was controversial, but Dr. Riek should have consulted the SPLM-IO leadership. Now, SPLM-IO are reformers and believe that change must come from good governance and appointing people on merits, not because of family relations. The conversation we were having yesterday here about Malawi, we see, Mabior here, the former Deputy Minister of Interior, are saying this nepotism is just one of the reasons why he's feeling Dr. Riek Machar erred, because this is not the things and the values that they stand for as a party. Doctor.
It's muted.
All right, it's muted. All right, go ahead, Professor. Nepotism.
Yeah. Thank you for Daniel for disagreeing with me on this. But what he has already done, he has already created a conflict. The best you can do is to support the peace agreement. Let me tell you one. In a conflict, when you agree to talk, you have killed people, you have done all manner of things. The first fundamental thing you do is to create trust. And remember, yesterday, Dr. Masangas cautioned us, we should not say anything which should jeopardize the peace process. In fact, appointing your wife, if we go that way, that is wrong. We have condemned it. But this is a delicate situation. At least for them coming together, they brought ceasefire. So the rest of the things, so long as the peace agreement is there, you can always go back and agree. This is what made us fight. Can we change? And what the government of Southern Sudan have said, they don't have money to address security, to address education, to address health, to assist displaced person as an international community. This is what we should focus. But if we go to say that you have appointed your wife, you have appointed so and so, we will be fueling the conflict. So Mabior, yes, is entitled. Those are very valid points. But running away from the government is creating another center of conflicts.
But he's saying, and I think that has been the
Dr.
problem even here in the country. We'll find that people are accusing President Uhuru Kenyatta of this and this and that, but they're still part of that government. And so our thinking has been, if you don't agree with what this party stands for anymore, then you have a right to leave. You don't have to be in a place where you feel
Yes,
that they don't share the same.
and also it comes on matter of principle, Professor Gerald Onyari, because if you don't agree to the policies of a party, if you feel like you have outlived whatever this party stands for, and you are no longer in the same wavelength in terms of the agenda, the policies, and everything, and you don't agree with them, it's only noble that you step aside, take a different position, and then you can be allowed to criticize it as much as you can. And I think I've known Mabior for quite some time, and I think he's a very principled young man, and he still has the same dream his father had, the independence of the people of South Sudan. And probably whatever Miriam has mentioned there is the intention. And the President Salva Kiir and his nemesis, Dr. Riek Machar, have been taking the people of South Sudan in circles. And that is why this gentleman, I think, has taken another different stand from where these two are. And these two have been the problem of the country, because their unwillingness to come together and forge a long-lasting peace. So we need people who are like-minded people like Mabior Garang, who will be selfless, stand aside and tell people that although I've been in this party and now we've been doing this and this and this, but this side of the negotiation table is not willing to do this for the people of South Sudan.
All right, and just in part of that letter, Doctor, before you come in, he's saying that Dr. Riek Machar Teni has forgotten about the values and objectives of the movement and now focus on the power to benefit himself and his family. As a result, he has no longer been fighting for security arrangements and reform, and instead he is focused on maintaining the status quo. That's a damning report.
Fine. What I'm trying to say,
Doctor, let Doctor take it.
Can I go in first?
Yes, Doctor. Go ahead.
And we have somebody from Juba.
I'm trying to say this. This is not the time to point finger. This is not the time to say that you are not implementing, you are not following the peace agreement.
So you just sweep everything under the carpet. That's what you're
This
saying.
is the time to bring peace. You don't run away from an existing entity to go outside. What Mabior has said, I'm trying to tell you as a conflict person, he has already created a conflict.
Another conflict.
We are going to start negotiating with him and the people with the who are having the same thinking. So what I'm saying, and my recommendation here is, there is a peace agreement which was agreed, they shook hands, and there's no fighting. So Mabior getting out of the government, there is no principle. There's no principle.
You made your point.
Doctor.
You made your point. Let me come in, Professor. I have Manuel online from Juba. Manuel online from Juba. Good morning, good afternoon in Juba.
Good afternoon,
And Karen from Mombasa. Hold your horses. Hold your horses and listen to almost everybody.
Yes.
And I think retired Major, I think
and I can see
yes.
we have another Ranger Major retired Bijiwe has come in. This topic is going to be hot. Now, Manuel from Juba.
Yes.
Welcome to the show, Bijiwe. Now, Manuel, tell us candidly the truth and nothing but the truth. What is going on?
Yeah, number one, I'll just be brief and be specific to what is happening on the ground. Yeah, number one, the letter that was circulating on the social media and even the other media house ministries like yours, Mabior denied. He said he has never resigned. He denied.
So who sent this letter?
He has not resigned from the party, but he resigned as Assistant Interior Minister. He did that in June.
Yeah, that is what we are also asking. Who wrote wrote that letter. That's number one. Number two.
That's why we are asking you from Juba. Tell us. Because now also when you come on our television and speculate, Manuel, you are leaving us in a deep, deep end
But
of
Doctor-
Morgan Changarai.
But doctor, you said he sent you that letter. Who sent you that letter?
No, I'm not telling you what he has written, but he's the one who wrote it. You cannot get a letterhead of an individual party and you wrote a letter. So he's the one. But he's just resisting it, but he's the one. Even me yesterday, I published it on my page that he has resigned. But later on, he came out and said he didn't resign.
Okay, I wanted to hear from you, then because I'm an elder here.
Okay.
And I am a freedom fighter together with his father. Yes, I have been in Owinyi Kibu with the father. So I will tell you what I know. Let all the people talk first, and I will speak my mind once for all on this subject. Thank you very, very much, Manuel. Karen from Mombasa.
Yes, if indeed it was written by him, then cutting, when you have headache, you don't cut off the head. So you don't run away from the government. It isn't a solution. We need to figure out and discuss what do we do. But if you think, okay, I just had an incident, okay, I don't understand, it is. But if you see them cutting off the head for the total headache, now what do we need to do? I think there's something we're forgetting here. Most of these people who are involved in all of this are young people. Now, they want to be heard. And I think we should get them involved in this dialogue and reconciliation processes. Why? Because these are people who are only trying to protect their homes. Now, we need to hear them out. Because we're not giving them a chance to hear them out. The only way they can face is through violent confrontation. Now, we need to sit down with these young people and talk to them. What do they think? Let's hear them out as Africans, as the world. We need to listen to them. The young people from South Sudan. One of the ways we can help South Sudan is by listening to what these young people want. Because these are who are involved. The other thing I think we should do, we can help South Sudan. You know, they can have things just the way we do here. We can have it this way. We can have negotiations, but I'm not talking about the normal negotiation, high-level negotiations. Because what the people of Sudan need, they need a peaceful democratic transition. Now, in this high-level negotiation I'm talking about here, we can have the civil society in presence, we can have the political parties, the conflicting parties together, traditional religious parties. So we should not just have negotiations, but it should be of high level.
Okay.
We can have that.
And perhaps
I think
we should remind Karen that
you side with Dr. Onyani.
And Doctor, there have been so many negotiations in South Sudan. Even all those people Karen is suggesting, even Pop has kissed their feet. I mean, it has gone that far. So negotiation has not been lacking in South Sudan.
Yeah, but I think time has come. She has brought a very serious point here by saying maybe the voices of the younger people have not been heard.
That's a good point.
Given that, Miriam, already you and I, we have condemned this peace process.
Yes.
From the word go, when it was built on a sand which could collapse. I have never seen a peace process in the world which is negotiated without accountability. What is killing South Sudan is accountability. Why are you people not talking it out? Professor Onyali, you are beating about the bush. When will you talk the truth about this country? Accountability.
Can we have major?
384,000 people have died. Someone killed them. Did they die by leprosy? Did they die by leprosy? Let anybody tell me the question. Answer me. 384,000 people. Manuel, you are Sudanese, and you are online telling me I did the Uganda peace process. Over 800,000 people died. We started with accountability.
Yes.
That's why Uganda is stable. Wachana na hiyo mambo ya kusumbua sisi every time. You are running everywhere in the world. You want asylum. Watcha. Time has come, we soldiers, to tell you, Riek is a soldier, Salva Kiir is a soldier. We are also soldiers. We also trained in the same armies. We also hold the guns. We know how to cope them. Time has come to be told to shoot. And then the world, if you don't want to be together, we make you be together.
By force, by fire.
Yes.
And
when Mr. Mbijiwe is not going to speak another language, that's the language he wants.
All right.
If he doesn't want that, let him soften his gear and fly there. For me, time has come. South Sudan, first, the peace process was done very wrongly, Miriam.
Mm-hmm.
They did not account. They have not accounted for 384,000 people.
It's not even in the top agenda, accountability. It's not there.
And that's why it is haunting them.
Mm.
The spirits of the people that were killed is haunting Mabio. Wachana kuambia hivyo, younger man. What? Let him come and challenge me. He's like my son. I was a comrade to the father. I was in a weak bull when he was not even born. We are having too much problem. Look here, we have a major general, a Kenyan major general stationed in the peace process.
Mm-hmm.
Time has come for us to tell him, for us who know South Sudan very well, very well. I can tell you where the rebels are. I can now. I can tell you. Msitishatishe watu. So we must be careful and start thinking very seriously that first of all, the peace process, Miriam, was done wrongly.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it is beginning to crumble.
Oh, it's been crumbling.
You cannot have a South African deputy president who knows nothing but eating food and flying to get contracts in Juba to negotiate a peace process. That's zero. Wachana. You're China. People are going to die again. The wife of Riek Machar is competent. If she's competent, let her have it. She's a Sudanese. Is she a Ugandan? Is she a Ugandan? Let them have it. Transitionally, this is a transition. It is not permanent like a Chakwera. Like a Chakwera. Chakwera is making a permanent government. This is a transitional government leading to elections. And Madame Riek is a fighter. She's a very good fighter. She has been struggling with the husband for a long time. She deserves to be there. Even if it is not the Minister of Defense, she deserves to be there. But if it is a bad thing, there is a way to address it. Bolting out creates us another problem in the region. And I want to ask one thing, Kenya government, don't allow them to come here. Because they have a safe haven. If you want out to stay there now, sort it with, and Uganda, sort it there. These guys have palatial homes in Kampala, palatial homes here, palatial homes in London. They have forgotten the plight of the people who have suffered. Mine is today is not onyali, that you don't break it. Break what?
No, Doctor.
Let's break it.
When I heard you say that we should support that, I thought, okay, I don't know how long that will go, because these are issues, Doctor, that are very, very serious that you're raising.
These guys
so we cannot
have
just.
That younger man wants to be in Nairobi.
Mabior.
He's always in the nightclubs here. You see him here. Hey, na group kubwa anataka kuja hapa. That's why he's not able to sit there. Is the mother not in the government? Is the mother not in the government? The mother who gave birth to this boy, is he not the vice president?
Rebecca.
Hey, you people tell me. Now, watch to bring it on. Bring it on.
Yeah, speak about nepotism. Yes, the mother. Nyandeng.
The mother is the vice president.
Yes.
And the mother is in the government. The mother can allow the son to go that way. What tricks are they playing? And then you are going to blame Riak. Every day, Riak. No. Riak needs to be defended also. I'm also a friend of Riak. I'm not going to let him to be killed. His name will be killed. He survived the death there. The other time he survived the death. And I'm also going to take sides. If people want, I will take sides.
Let's take the side of the people of South Sudan. Retired Major Mpijiwe, karibu sana. Just speak from where the doctors left.
I apologize for intruding into this debate today. I was not one of the honored guests.
You're welcome.
I was in the farm, but I was watching you. So as you can see, this is my farm cap. I was watching over my cattle, but this fire for South Sudan never leaves my soul.
Go ahead. You're welcome.
So first of all, I greet my fellow panelists, Daniel, my brother, Professor Jared, and Dr. Matanga. And then, of course, I'm following online, and there's such a followership of this show right now as we speak from our brothers in South Sudan. This is very, very impressive. There is one called Elvis Nso Eyong. Elvis Nso Eyong says, help us expose incompetence. I want to agree with Dr. Matanga. South Sudan's problem, first, is because there's a leadership that has not been held accountable. Mm-hmm. No one is holding that leadership accountable. I started working for the Republic of South Sudan, consulting for them on security issues from the year 2014. And I had asked the studio team if they get my pictures about that peace process I was personally involved in to share even as we speak. I traveled the world over with leaders from South Sudan, elected leaders, technocrats. In 2014, I set up meetings for them in the Capitol Hill of the United States. We visited various leaders in the US trying to understand or even change the perception that had already emanated in the world about South Sudan following the 2013 December skirmishes, which is where Dr. Matanga is saying hundreds of people died and there is need for accountability. In fact, we are not saying to hold South Sudan accountable before their independence. We are saying to, some of the pictures showing now is me visiting with a team of South Sudan. The picture on the screen now, we were visiting the chairman of Homeland Security in the US to try and help them to participate even in training of their police, their military, and somewhere in the pictures you could see. We have a leadership that from 2013 has not been held accountable. And this is the leadership that has had wanton embezzlement of public funds in South Sudan. Life in South Sudan has deteriorated further lower than where it was in the time when South Sudan was part of the Sudan of the Bashir. South Sudan, life is horrible. The other day, just before this COVID-19 curfew manenos began, I was at our Kenyan border with South Sudan called Nadapal. That's me meeting the president there. At our border with Nandapal. Kenyan roads are, in fact, the president of Kenya is doing the roads. There is a contractor working on our road to the border in Nandapal. But on the other side of South Sudan, all the way to Juba, there is not a single inch of tarmacked road in South Sudan. The leaders of South Sudan have completely embarrassed the citizens of that country. And I dare say today that we need to take their leaders out of the way completely and jail them. They need to go to jail. These are leaders who have a destiny with jail. And I'm serious. I mean, from President Salva Kiir down to his counterpart, Riek Machar, all those generals around the presidency, they I was about to say a bad word. They need to go to jail, all of them.
No French.
Because South Sudan is, the citizens are in pain. The young men in South Sudan are confused. Can you imagine until today, South Sudanese are still living around the world as refugees? The country with the most gold in the region, the country with the most water of the Nile. The river Nile circles around South Sudan more than in any other country in its entire trail to the Mediterranean. The country with the most unexploited oil resources in the world, in Africa. That country has its children as refugees in Canada, in USA, in Australia. What a shame.
Okay.
All right.
Miriam,
Yes.
speak on that heat.
All right, let me just speak on that. Yes, and I just want to direct it.
The debate here online is very hot.
All right.
And we don't want to miss this point. We are not calling for dismantling of the peace process. We are calling for accountability. And let it be said here that I, David Matanga, I said the entire peace process of South Sudan by IGAD is rubbish.
Professor.
And I want to tell you, no, I want to say it categorically. It was built on quicksand because it was not from the bottom, it was from the top. How do you divide the posts? How do you build a political empire without building the human rights accountability empire?
And it has stayed at the top, Doctor. It has not even trickled down.
Yes. That's why now you see this thing is it is imepasuka. The pass has broken out now. This younger man has broken the pass. The pass has broken out. The wound is now breaking out. The difficulties of starting from the top, of fixing political arrangement, not accountability arrangement. South Sudan has no money now. South Sudan needs money to sustain the peace process. As Africa and the Security Council, the UN, they should look for money to give South Sudan. Part of the problems that you don't need to blame Riek Machar. I'm not going to be radical like Mr. Bijiwe to say that all of the leaders should go to jail. No.
Collective
If they go to jail, then there will be no country. We want the leaders to account, but not to go to jail. We want people to account. We want the world to start accountability. In the name of God, even if you go to Angel Gabriel today and ask Angel Gabriel, what is killing South Sudan? What is killing South Sudan today is 384,000 people whose spirits are waking up without accountability. If you go to northern Uganda and ask why the peace is holding, which Riek Machar, Dr. Matsanga, Dr. Rwakana Rugonda, General Museveni, General Salva Kiir, and the other 6 countries plus the European Union and the UN put signatures on. Why is the peace holding? Because we did accountability.
All right, Doctor, thank you so much. Professor Nyari, as a conflict resolution person, we've had the retired major saying that perhaps jailing the leadership of South Sudan could be the help the world needs to give to South Sudan. What do you say to that?
In a conflict, there are those who want the conflict to end. The likes of Major General Bichiwe doesn't want the conflict to end. There are those who are for peace. Let me tell you, you know, when you talk about accountability, justice must be tempered with mercy. They have been given 2 years for transition. And in those 2 years for transition is the time to seek forgiveness, It's the time to reconcile. It is the time to do accountability. Let me tell you now. What Dr. Masanga is saying, I agree with him entirely. But now it has happened. They did not follow that procedure. What do we do?
What is the recourse?
It is just like our children now who are in holiday. They have become pregnant. They will be mothers. What will we do with the children? We will take care of the children. So what is this? Let us take care of the peace process with its demerits and see how we can build on it. The fact that Riek Machar and Salva Kiir were able to come to the negotiating table with their interest, we can make it better. It is good, but we can make it better.
All right,
and what I want to say, anything which does not support
the peace process,
the peace agreement, the peace process, I'm not on their side. I'm talking about there are 400 people who are refugees. How do we make those people return home? How do we make them start their own life? That's why we are recommending the United Nations Security Council provide resources. They have said some of the reasons why they are not implementing the peace process.
It's the lack of funds.
It's lack of funds.
But also it will interest you to know, Professor.
This is not the time to abandon them. This is not the time to say they should go to jail. This is the time to forgive. This is the time to reconcile. This is the time to know the truth, what happened. How were the 400 people who were killed? So that we use history to say to the people of South Sudan, they say, never again should we allow this to happen. If we have chosen the path of negotiation and of reconciling and bringing peace, let us pursue that way. But if you want them to go to this side, they fight until the other side is down, more people will die. And as a peace and conflict expert, that is not the route to go. Dr. Masanga, I am persuading you. It was built on a quicksand, but out of that quicksand, we can reinforce and see how the people of Southern Sudan can be assisted. Right. The people are tweeting. People are bitter, yes, but we want to persuade them and say, yes, with bitterness, better days are always in the future. Let us walk to the future with hope. I know, as you're talking about Dr. Riek Machar, he has brought a wife. When you bring people to transition government, you bring people who can help you translate your agenda. And then after 2 years, the people of Southern Sudan will have an opportunity to decide what kind of government and what kind of leaders they will put in place.
Thank you so much, and I hear you, Professor.
Let me interject a quick one here.
Before you come in, before you come in, I'd like to hear.
No one, it should not be misconstrued, even by our viewers, that by any chance me or Dr. Matanga mean that we should not embrace the peace. No. You can tell, friends, even from the photos that I've asked the crew to show of my personal work for South Sudan, that our hearts are in that process. We want peace for South Sudan.
Thank you.
However, as our brother Professor will agree, and I've had Professor lecture before, even in schools, there's what we call resource conflict. The problem in South Sudan, and let's be open and forthright today, is because their leaders are profiteers of conflict. There's so much resource, the oil resource. And I tell you, friends, viewers, the oil in South Sudan can feed Africa for another century without Africa running out of fuel. But their leaders have become beneficiaries of that conflict. They have become beneficiaries of those resources in the conflict. In the conflict, there's no accountability.
Yes.
It doesn't move through banks. It moves as cash money. So money laundering, corruption deals are easy to be cut under the table. This is why the leaders of South Sudan will never, ever agree on peace. In fact, they will keep the citizens poor. Look, I visited a hospital in a town called Kapueta in South Sudan. At the hospital, Dr. Matanga, they have no food for the sick. People come with food and firewood to cook for their sick in the hospital. So you're shown a corner at the end of the hospital where you prepare food for your sick patients who you have brought to the hospital. What kind of shame is this in Africa, friends? That's a small population. South Sudan has 8 million people in a country that is as vast as, one and a quarter times of Kenyan geographical space. But their leaders want a conflict situation to continue like that so that they can profit from the conflict, build palatial homes in Nairobi. Dr. Matanga said we should not allow them to come here. No, they will come because they are also in bed with our leaders in Kenya. In fact, our leaders are the conduits of their ill-gotten wealth in South Sudan. So we need to institute the peace process needed to come with a schedule at the back of accountability. So long as there is no accountability, bye-bye peace in South Sudan. The sons and daughters of South Sudan. Can you imagine South Sudanese are still in Kakuma refugee camp?
Oh, yeah.
What kind of madness is these people?
I know.
Okay, we have
we have to let the retired
Mr. Manuel from South Juba. Is here on the line.
Emmanuel.
Mr. Manuel.
Yeah.
Can you respond to that?
This is a very heated argument. You are from South Sudan yourself. Come in it. Tell us your position.
Yeah. My position was like the whole the other contributors or panelists, because lack of accountability is the major matter of implementation in South Sudan. And what we need our leaders to be held accountable. When coming also to the donors, the international community, they are fearing to fund the peace implementation because of lack of accountability as far as corruption is also concerned. While we are speaking now to Tamatanga, there's a fighting everywhere in the part of the country. It's only the first place is Juba alone. And then the other side is the issue of Jungle. It's almost now half people are fighting. The youth from Murle, the youth from Nuer, the youth from the Dinka, they are fighting each other. But nobody has gone to stop that fighting. So if it is also, I need people also, if this is collapse, we need to go back to the table and get exactly what was the root cause of the conflict in South Sudan. Then going around, everybody is resigning, other people is just like that. Our citizens, we are hopeless. We are not looking at the life, we are not like other people who have enjoyed the fruit of their independence or the fruit of their struggle for liberation.
Miriam, let me come in here to guide our debate on one direction.
I've been trying to do that, and Daniel hasn't spoken in a while.
No, you have done it very well,
yes.
But I'm bringing in, I haven't said, let me come and do better. Okay. I've just said,
yes.
We are co-hosts.
Yes.
And you have to understand when we are co-hosts,
yes.
I'm trying to bring in a debate.
Yes.
The key word here, Miriam, is accountability. It has come from the mouth of Mbijiwe. It has come from the mouth of the lady in Mombasa. It has come from the mouth of Juba, a man from Juba, Manuel. It has come from the mouth of Daniel. Accountability. And to some extent, Professor has not refused accountability. But Professor's point is, let's build on what we have now. Let's not dismantle. I want to ask the professor and the panel, if Germany did not account, where would Germany be? That's a question for all of us. If Germany, after the Second World War, they did not account, where would Germany be? Germany today is a first world, a superpower. They have just refused to put it on the Security Council. But it is better than some members who are on the Security Council.
Absolutely. By
There's a GDP which is so strong in Europe. It looks at humanitarian. But because the German parliament said never shall we be part of some of these things shall only be Japan and Germany opted out of the United Nations Security Council. But Germany accounted, they accepted, they began from the bottom and they went up. They did not come from the top and go out. What is killing the Sudan peace process, Miriam, let it be on record, is we began acquiring, we began reparation. You know, reparation, political reparation. And let's be honest, this is happening in the BBI here. You see, the problem of BBI is that we're beginning to lose the focus of reconciliation. And we have turned on political reparation, posts. Mimi nataka hii kwanza, leta hii kwanza, nipatie hii. So we shall lose it out. We have avoided a redemption strategy, Medium. What was the basis of the peace process? A redemption strategy. Accountability, restitution, truth-telling. Truth-telling. Have people who are in this place truth-tellers? You see now, Mabio has withdrawn himself. Looks that the truth has not sunk into his head. He has withdrawn. He's gone. Another person tomorrow is going to withdraw. Another one is going to withdraw. So before all of them withdraw and leave us with a skeleton, let's find a landing base. What about tomorrow if one faction say we are not coming? What do we do? The government has no money. Miriam, bring it back to the people. The government has no money.
Yes, and as much as the government of South Sudan has no money, which is true, but also just last week, the chairperson of the Economic Cluster Committee called for thorough investigations into non-oil revenue that he says is being diverted into individual accounts. Now, his name is Onyoti Digo, and he said he has the cabinet level committee, and he says he believes that import taxes, among others, are still being channeled into private bank accounts. So the revenue authority there in South Sudan is unable even to get the little revenue that the country is supposed to be raising. That's as much as the government has no money and donors wants to come in and help South Sudan. I think a very important point there, Emmanuel Malual raised up, there's no accountability, there are no structures in place. So this makes, even the international community or anyone who's willing to come in and help South Sudan shy away. So issues like this, Daniel, how can they be dealt with there in South Sudan?
Yes, thank you, Miriam, Dr. Matsanga and Richard Major Mbijiwe, and all our correspondents in South Sudan and Mombasa. First of all, Major General Richard Mbijiwe talked about something about war. In every war or crisis, every war or crisis rather has its plunders. And of course, we do have the biggest beneficiaries of the crisis in South Sudan. And these are people who are greatest impediment to the peace process in South Sudan. Because the moment South Sudan will be pacified, then checks and balances will come in, and these people will no longer be able to loot from the public coffers. Will not be able to steal from the people of South Sudan, and that is why these crises might not come to an end very soon. Number two, Miriam. When you want to bring people to maybe, or rather to make people accountable to their actions, but these are the same people who are being accused of these atrocities in South Sudan, then it is so self-defeating. And if you have a house that is leaking and you want to repair it, it's only okay that the occupants of the house, first of all, get out, and then you can be able to repair it. And once the house is fixed, is when now everything can come back to normalcy. Because right now, the same leadership that is in government, that is the same leadership that is being accused of some of these atrocities. So as Major Mbijiwe said, let these people who are in government who have been accused of these atrocities, of the injustice in South Sudan, let them be charged, because there can be no reconciliation without truth and justice. So let them be brought to justice. And once that is done, then we shall have a very good precondition, a very good environment to talk about peace in South Sudan. But we cannot build peace on those on people's lives, on those atrocities that have gone on for the past few decades, and all the theft in public coffers, corruption, and tribalism. So we have to sort the mess first before we can talk about peace.
All right, thank you. And now reports are emerging that soldiers at the training center in Rajaf near Juba say they are being neglected by parties to the revitalized peace agreement. And there is a delay in passing out the forces that have been trained, a situation the army spokesperson has attributed to financial constraints. Major retired there as a military man. What dangers does this pose to South Sudan?
You see, as soon as the parties to the agreement feel sidelined, then they are quickly going to turn to being belligerent parties. And as you know, most of those parties are armed parties. Dr. Riek Machar's forces were, armed to the teeth. The other regional generals who brought their parties, who brought their side of the fighters to the table also are heavily armed. Since 2013, I know at least of 2 people that were very loyal to government but have since formed their own militias. Mm-hmm. And previously they were loyalists of government. In fact, one was an intelligence officer, but he went back to his village, formed a militia, and I know he's been going around the world looking for money to buy arms. And being an intelligence officer, he was able to shape some of those arms into his forces. What we are saying is South Sudan has lots of weapons out there, small arms and medium-range heavy arms that they can use to butcher each other. And by the way, South Sudanese are battle-hardened soldiers. You cannot intimidate South Sudanese with war. They fought an entire totalitarian regime of Bashir, of General Bashir, and brought it to its knees until Bashir, in his own lifetime, in his senses, agreed to a secession of the country. That's not a small decision to make. When some belligerent forces in Kenya wanted to secede Mombasa from Kenya or Coast from Kenya, they were saying, Pwani sio Kenya. They were beaten the hell out of them because it's not an easy decision to allow a secession of a country. Mm-hmm. But these South Sudanese fighters are battle-hardened warriors. They have no fear for war. Mm-hmm. If the peace process disintegrates, we are going to have more than one armed group to deal with in South Sudan, mm-hmm. and this is going to be very, very bad. In fact, what may eventually happen is then we may have a permanent United Nations peacekeeping and peace enforcement mission in South Sudan, which right. is not what we want right. for this region.
Thank you so much. And Doctor, yes.
What peace are you keeping? What peace?
Good question. And Doctor, yes.
Major retired, please. Yes. Some of these words that you are hammering here. Peace what? Peace mission. Let's turn. There is no peace to keep. Where is it?
That's why I said enforcement. I said peacekeeping and enforcement.
I think that's
the definition of the mission.
Let's turn the entire peace mission of UNIMIS. turn it into peace enforcer. The peace shoot. Yes. Those who can shoot. You have brought it. Those Bazungu there up there eating food. They should shoot some people to come to order.
Doctor,
listen, I'm watching something here. One of our viewers is saying, Miriam, sorry. Mm-hmm. One of our viewers called Ader Don. Put on the chat there on the Facebook.
I can see that here. 3.9 million.
There are 3.9 million small arms
proliferation. Yes.
Unauthorized persons in South Sudan. Imagine 3.9 million arms.
And as you speak now, just to add on that, we know that there's what do you call it, an arms embargo against on South Sudan. So apparently, where is that information that I wanted Doctor to respond to? So apparently, There has been a problem with that because the government is not able to, the police officers are not able to be armed properly there in South Sudan because of the, the arms embargo against South Sudan. And the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, and Deng now says that the UN arms embargo and targeting sanctions have had a significant impact on the country's capability to maintain security. And Deng claims the government of South Sudan is unable to arm the police due to the arms embargo. But also there is a report from the Amnesty International that said that South Sudan violated the arms embargo and imported arms into the country anyway. Doctor, is this working for South Sudan, or are they just, how will this work for South Sudan?
You know what? I want to give space to allow our guests who are holding on from the sea.
Please. Yes.
The sea, Miriam.
Yes.
I have got the question. I will answer.
Yes.
There's the lady from Mombasa.
Yes.
Yes, you have been waiting for a long time to bring some
insight,
some stability here.
Yes.
Because many of us, 5 of us, have brought instability, headed by Major retired Bijiwe, causing instability on the net. So bring some stability together with media. What is your say? Do we need South Sudan? Leave it the way it is. 3.9 million people are under arms. What do we do now? The peace process, the money is not there. Manuel has said people fear to fund them because they said the money will disappear in the deep holes. Bijiwe says the money is around here. It is exported to other countries. What can we say, ma'am? You are in Mombasa, and you know some of those palatial hotels. Some of them belong to some of them. So tell us.
Well, I think it's normal for people to be afraid of funding South Sudan because they understand where the money is going to. But then before we should fund them, but before we do that, we talked about accountability. Before we hand over these funds to them, I think this is what we should do. These officials who are responsible for these human rights crimes also to be disqualified from future leadership positions. And this was also proposed by an African Union Commission of Inquiry. Because we want to have, but then we need these people who are responsible for these crimes out of the way. They should not be given future leadership positions. Then we can come and help. So I understand why people are going to fund South Sudan. They should be made accountable if we do that.
Thank you very much, Manuel.
Yeah, it's true. What we need to do, we want a total remobilization which include all accountability before we have a stable country. The report that 3.9 million people with a gun. It's true. It should be more than that because everybody has a gun, and we are wondering where did they get those guns?
Who is but you are from South Sudan. Let me be very honest. Where do you buy these guns? Who supplies you the guns? I'm honest.
Yeah. The guns were there because we have the army is fully armed, and we don't know where the civilians were armed. So we know the army was the modern army was armed for protecting the integrity of the country and sovereignty. But where did civilians get guns? That's where we're also wondering. I'm also wondering where did they get guns?
Okay.
So that is a puzzle.
So in your analysis, do you think IGAD can solve this problem?
The present peace.
Yes, can IGAD solve this problem? Isn't it too huge for IGAD?
I have lost trust on IGAD because the IGAD we have now is not the IGAD of 2 or 5 when we get independent because there is an interest. They are not getting the root cause of the conflict, then the power sharing.
Why don't you be very blunt? Why, like me, let me put it for you. Let me hammer the point home.
Yeah.
The only country here which is neutral is Kenya. My country is not neutral.
That is what I was about.
No, wait, because you are fearing to say it. Me, I don't fear. My country is not neutral. Ethiopia is not neutral. Sudan, Khartoum is not neutral. So these are members of IGAD. Therefore, me, the one, you see, don't beat about the bush. People want a solution in people have died. People are dying.
And
people are going to fight.
Yes.
Garanga's son is leading a rebellion now. He's citing his father. Let's be honest. He's citing his father. He's saying, my father, this is not what my father wanted. Now this is God. Let's suggest. Me, I suggest let people hate me. And I want to put it on table. Let's put South Sudan under the trusteeship of UN.
Security Council.
We go away. Anybody holding a gun is shot. Yes. That you, what else do you want?
You're about to shoot about 3.9 million people.
Mr. Professor, how are you going to correct it? How are you going to sort the problem of South Sudan?
Professor, Doctor, if we go with Doctor's formula, then 3.9 people there in South Sudan who own these small guns. We're about to have a mass graves there in South Sudan.
The only way South Sudan can be peaceful, Miriam, I will not speak again. The only way South Sudan can be peaceful is to have a full-fledged United Nations peace envoy. Full stop. One, like a Chisano, paid by UN, turn the enemies into a firefighting mission. A peace, not a peacekeeping, but an enforcement mission to enforce peace. If they catch you with a gun which you did not possess, they arrest you and detain you, charge you. Give it a transition of 2 to 3 years for Sudan to wake up, for South Sudan to wake up. IGAD, Walai ya Mungu, IGAD, they are interested parties. My own country is interested. Ethiopia is interested. South Sudan, Sudan, Khartoum. And there is another mafia called Efaka something, Efakai. That guy there of Eritrea.
Yes.
Efias, my friend from, I knew him that he could be like that. He's a mercenary. He's interested also. Now in South Sudan affairs, I have to tell you the truth. Because of business interests. Very shortly, if we are not careful, there will be an Al-Shabaab cell set up in Juba. Am I wrong, Obijue? The way we are going with Efaki affairs. If you don't know him, I know him from 1987. With Tedros, the fifth in the World Health Organization. Commander Tedros, Zenawi, Matanga, Nambago, Wafula in London. We are the top guys of the British government on refugee matters in London. Telling me East and West, Miriam, we are done. If Zenawi was around, Efaki, there would be no, you know what, Somalia would be stable. Now he is now a friend of Juba. He's trying to be a friend of one of the sides. We shall have a problem. So for me, I suggest, Onyali might suggest until the chicken come home, let's place these guys in the hands of UN. Since Kenya is on the United Nations Security Council, take a resolution there, place them under UN, so that the UN can pay for the peace process, so that the UN can fund the peace process. At the moment, IGAD is a beggar, How can a beggar beg again, but not a beggar?
With a huge begging bowl there, Dr. Yura.
Yes.
Okay.
Wacha tuambiane ukweli, Daniel. Don't play around here. IGAD is begging to sustain the secretariat. Then you want to eat it at the IGAD peace process. Wapi? Some members in IGAD have not even paid membership fee. Am I wrong? Has Sudan itself paid the membership fee? Has the South Sudan paid the membership fee in East African community?
It's facing expansion.
Then we are in chaos. Let this country has reached a bankrupt state. It needs status of a trustee. The South Sudanese hate me that I have stated the truth. If you don't seek trustee status, wawachunge, because look at the comments they have made here. They are saying they don't want Salva Kiir, they don't want all these leaders. Then, Munyambie, what do you want? You people, you are professor and a professor and a general, Major Jeff, Munyambie, you tell me, that's where we are heading.
Professor.
That's where we are heading.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Respond to what Doctor has said.
Miriam, the question we were addressing, can the word help Southern Sudan sustain peace?
And your answer is?
My answer is yes.
In what
I
ways?
have said this, peace is a process. It is not a one-time event. You wake up one morning and you say that you need peace. It is not a one-time. It is a process. The people who can bring peace to Southern Sudan, as much as Kenya and the rest of the world, you cannot go to mourn and wail more than the people who are bereaved. We let us create conditions for them to decide that they need peace in their country by trying to understand what are the underlying issues to the conflict. Unless you don't address the underlying core issues of the conflict, there will never be peace in Southern Sudan. Hear this. As much as you are saying they have not done much, they are compromised, they have done this, at least they brought them to the negotiating table. And now that they are at the negotiating tables and they have agreed on parameter, on the transition government, where they have made some mistake, we go back and address to the areas where they are not able to address the peace agreement. We have said the young people have not been brought on board.
I am itching my stomach.
Yeah, please.
Just hold on. Just hold your horses. No, doctor. Just let me finish.
Peace is a process. It is not one event. You can't wake up one morning and say, there be rights, there be peace. No, it is a process. Let them go to the underlying core issues. As much as we want to be more concerned, it is the people of Sudan to say that they want peace. If they say they want peace, there will be peace. If they don't, what Salva Kiir and Riek Machar have said, they don't have funds to implement the peace process.
We know
I know we cannot trust them.
We know
we cannot trust them. But for heaven's sake, where United Nations have entered the recommendation, he has said, you will never have that peace in that Sudan. And if you want to see a recommendation, go to Western Sahara. From 1991, United Nations is there. So the people of Southern Sudan must decide that they want peace for their country, let them address the underlying core issues, and then as neighbors, as Kenya, we have been good neighbors and we wish them well.
All right, retired Major Mbijira.
Let me be honest on this.
Doctor,
whether you like it or not,
yes.
Before we lose this point of this, the gentleman is talking that help them. Help what? We are helping them to do what?
Doctor,
now?
you started appealing for help. Remember when we started the show?
Yes.
that was your call.
I am consistent.
Yes.
Later on in the middle, I discovered.
Yes.
that
I realized. And I thought, what happened?
No, listen at the comments. People are even saying that Al-Shabaab is already in Juba. They are here. Biju, are you not reading the comments?
Yes, I'm reading. I have seen
Yes. The Bible have set up business.
Yes, I've seen a comment by.
So retired. All right, hold on. Retired Major, Doctor, as we started this conversation and from yesterday, he's been appealing for help for South Sudan, and we agree the whole world should come in and help South Sudan. But Professor there has said we can only help if they invite us. You cannot want a peace for somebody, so much for them, and as more than they want that peace for themselves. Has that been the situation in South Sudan? We are wishing them for something they don't wish to have it.
But in the dynamics of global peace, we can want peace for you more than you want it for yourself. That is allowed in the dynamics of global peace. This happened in a country called East Timor. We wanted peace for them more than they wanted, and we gave them peace. This happened in a country called Sierra Leone. They wanted no peace. They had a madman there called Fode Sanko who was cutting everybody's hands and feet. We wanted peace for Sierra Leone more than they did, and we gave them peace. In fact, we had a UN mission that Kenyan soldiers attended to there. It was vicious. At one point, even Kenyan soldiers were attacked, taken hostage. The hostage takers said they were going to release the General Mulinge, son to the former Chief of Defense Forces, General Mulinge. They said they wanted to release Major General Mulinge and keep the soldiers. He told them, let's do the opposite. Keep me and release the soldiers. It was a vicious fight. This happened in a country called Yugoslavia. They wanted no peace, but we gave them peace. So we cannot take this crap of South Sudan will not invite us. A point should come where we tell them this madness should come to an end. And by the way, in the year 2014, January, I wrote an article which I've sent to the crew team, to the studio team, but I see Stephen is not going online. So Stephen, if you're hearing me, check your WhatsApp. I sent you a link which I would like you to display here, even for viewers to see. In 2014, I wrote an article where I advised the family of John Garang, Rebecca Garang, and the son Mabior Garang. I said, stop this madness of taking sides with factions in the country that your father was a founder. Stand in the middle. I told Rebecca, take your children to the middle. Take no sides with Riek or with Salva Kiir. You are the wife of the founding father of the nation. Mentor your children to take the passion and the leadership, the love of their country in their hearts. Don't take your children to Riek Machar for appointment or to Salva Kiir for appointment. Take time off. Mentor your children. Grow the vision that your husband had in the children. South Sudanese one day in the future will remember that their founding father died as he fought for freedom for their country. If you mentor your children properly, this guy who's resigning is a mad boy. I've never seen a crazy son of a prominent leader like Mabior. He's such a crazy young man. He has lacked leadership. He has lacked mentorship. Somebody needs to man him up. He needs to be manned up into national leadership. South Sudanese could wake up one day and realize their founding father died as he was fighting for freedom for them. And they could even elect him as their president. But this young man, see the kind of caps he wears. He has funny hair. I think he even smokes something. Can somebody mentor that little boy to become a leader? If not his junior brother or junior sister, somebody needs to go into the family of John Garang and raise a leader for South Sudan so that South Sudan vision and dream for self-actualization could be achieved. This current Mabior family is an embarrassment.
All right, I think I'll let the major there calm down for a moment. But he said he's resigning on principle. It's hot in here, Doctor. I don't know if you can calm things down. Maybe Doctor is the wrong person to calm things down. Daniel, Doctor will just ignite that fire, Father. Daniel, as we conclude, and perhaps Professor there, way forward for South Sudan.
Miriam.
Yes.
Before Professor comes in,
yes.
what the Major is saying is what made me to be hated by that boy. I said the same thing. And Manuel,
Yes.
you are my witness.
Yes.
I said it. I said, please. He blocked me. He never wanted me to be. There is a time he wanted me to invite him to the station. I said, now I will invite you. He met me somewhere and he wanted me to kneel to say, how are you, sir? I said, no. I was a fighter together with your dad. You see, I'm not going to bend it for you. In any case, I have a higher rank than yours when I left. So I refused. So I will not go into the detail to tell, but it's good. It's coming from another person, not me. But we had a very big exchange. That's all the information I wanted to bring. That's why I was very shocked when I saw this letter accusing Riek Machar. I'm not surprised.
Of all these things.
I'm not surprised because he was bound to accuse Riek Machar. The points might be genuine, but the presenter might not be honest.
Wait, Dr. Matanga, can I cut you? Does Mabior have a younger brother?
I don't know. I've never seen.
As we look for, he does.
The guy in Cuba, can you tell us, does he have younger brothers or sisters?
He has one.
That is your future president. Look for him. Forget about this Mabior. He's a madman.
Oh, Salva Kiir might, let's not ignite some,
That guy remains in Cuba. Since the problem, he has never fled Cuba. He's a good boy.
All right.
Yeah, yes. That's the leader.
That's your future leader, my friend. Look for him and speak to him. And send him to me. I will indoctrinate him.
All right. So that is the future leader. Yes, as we speak, South Sudan has a president in the name of President Salva Kiir. So Daniel, as we conclude.
We didn't say now, future president.
Future.
We didn't say that we will have a future president.
Don't forget there are people online here, please.
Yes.
Remember them.
Can they give their last comments? So we start with them and then we go to Daniel. Yes.
Yes, I'm here, Miriam and Doctor and the rest of the panel. Anyway, I would like to bring this across and work on bringing South Sudan together and all of that. You should remember that negotiation is also a good tool. As much as we've had so many times, but it's still help. So we should not forget to bring people together. Like the professor said, we should know what are the underlying issues. Let's get to hear from them and then what to go about. But negotiation is not going to push us, let's go. And then I would also repeat this and this is what I think is qualifying these prosecutions responsible for crimes from Sudan and actually preventing them from having future leadership for our positions because it's also our right decision to make. We should also consider that as we work on rebuilding South Sudan. Then I'm for avoiding causing this refugee thing over again. I know it's not a good situation where you've left your country somewhere, you've gone somewhere new, people start like fresh, and then the people are being killed. All of this, we need to remember this, the effect that had on South Sudan as South Sudan people, and see that the war will not actually take us anywhere. We need to sit down. We need to let go of selfish issues because I know with the war going on, they're taking advantage of that. But we need to sit down and think of the impact it has had in our country, and to the leaders as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you very much. She has made very cardinal points. I think we take it on board quietly and let them sink nicely. Manuel?
Yes.
You are parting short.
Yeah, I have something, Okay, what we need, I'm still asking Kenyans, colleagues, brothers, and fathers, sisters, to still continue supporting South Sudan democracy. It is really a hard time for us, people of South Sudan. We are going through so many challenges, but as a neighboring country, we should have also push for the final peace in South Sudan. That's what I can just add.
Thank you very much. Let's come to Professor Onya. No, let's come to, no, yes, Professor Onyari.
Thank you so much, Dr. Masanga. I want to persuade my fellow panelists, my fellow viewers, that let us give peace a chance. Peace is a process. It does not come in a day. And I want to recommend, I know I become very unpopular to most people, but I speak the truth as it is. I commend and salute Salva Kiir. I salute Riek Machar. The fact that they agreed to come to negotiating table. Dr. Riek Machar was running away from negotiating table, but suddenly said that things are gotten through negotiation table and in mediation. All of us become winners. If we fight and fight and fight, whom are you going to rule? I'm looking forward to when the people of Southern Sudan who are refugees will go back home and build their country. Imagine half of the population of Southern Sudan are outside their country. So let us give peace a chance, let us support, and let us be true to what we were discussing. Can the world help Southern Sudan to sustain peace? Yes, let us help them. Manuel has appealed to us that we should be with them. We will not leave you. We are with you. We gave part of the comprehensive peace agreement. Please let us go back and see where did the rain start beating us, and we address it. And you will build a stronger country. My fellow panelists support me that by agreeing with me that peace is a process. It takes long. And to humble those leaders to come to a negotiating table and agree on a transitional government, they might have made mistakes. But what we should do is to silently, Dr. Masanga said, Riek Machar is your friend. Tell him what to do. Because now your voice can be heard. Those who are friends with Salva Kiir, tell them, you are fighting over resources. Please, let us use the resources fairly and equitably. We are fighting our positions. Let us address this. If they go to those underlying core issues, they will be able to build their country.
Thank you so much, Professor Onyari. Daniel.
Retired Bijiwe.
Thank you, Dr. Matanga. I don't know if our guy in the studio, Stephen, is listening. Stephen, please, if you're listening, kindly show a picture I have sent you of me in military uniform with missiles at the border of Kenya and South Sudan. You
want to scare me now, Major, but it's a photo. But go ahead.
Is he hearing or is not? Because he's not online, this guy. Tell him we need technical support sometimes.
Yes, he did, and he also showed,
No, tell him to show the last picture. Opni, please put the last picture there.
All right, they're working on it, but
Dr. Matanga, my closing remarks is, some of us paid a heavy price to have the nation of South Sudan where it is. If that picture will be able to come up, you will see when I was 19 years old, I'm in military uniform and I'm positioned in Lokichogio, Kenya. That's a picture. Lokichogio, Kenya, with our weapons of war, going to position our anti-aircraft battery systems at Lokichogio so we could bring down any aircraft sent by Bashir to bomb South Sudanese as they were running away from Sudan into Kenya. There was a holding camp in Lokichogio, then they would proceed to Kakuma. And Bashir would bomb them. We put our president, former President Moi, who was my commander-in-chief then, said we position an anti-aircraft battery there to protect them. I want our brothers in South Sudan to know we have paid a price for them. And I promise you, brothers in South Sudan, we are not letting up, backing up, shutting up, or giving up until you all go up. That is my word. I promise you, so long as there's breath in me, I will work hard. I will work tirelessly to make sure there is peace in the Republic of South Sudan. And this is my commitment to God and to country. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much there. Daniel?
Daniel is gone.
Okay.
I think it's me to make
Yes.
and to wrap it up.
Go ahead.
Then hand it over to the studio. South Sudan indeed needs help. South Sudan today needs money. The peace process needs money. President Salva Kiir and his government have appealed to the international community to inject resources so as to make South Sudan peace process work. Had this war been in Europe, the European Union, the United Nations, the other agencies would have called for a donor conference. South Sudan needs a donor conference. A donor conference that will bring money enough to revitalize the peace process. If we want to go on that route of that peace process, if we want to go to another route of neglecting South Sudan to go back to where it was in 2013 and 2015, 2016, humanity will not be happy with us. Therefore, South Sudan, the government has appealed for money. Let the international community, Kenya, as a member of the United Nations Security Council, move on the direction to persuade the United Nations General Security Council that there is a need for a donor conference to inject resources in South Sudan so as to keep the fragile peace. Because peace, small as it is better than war. Peace, fragile as it is better than war. It is better to have peace, however bad it is, than to have a conflict permanently in your region. South Sudan has suffered, we have suffered, and as a result, the entire region has suffered. Time is now. We know we have harshness. We know we have the bitterness. We know we have the past experience. I'm a friend of both of them. I'm a friend of Dr. Yakamacha. I know the behaviors of these younger people. But there is time when a country is bigger than yourself, that both Dr. Yakamacha, and the Salva Kiir rise up beyond ego to sustain the fragile peace and ask the international community to help them. I understand the bitterness of Major retired Bijiwe. He took part, sacrificed. If we had got you around there with Bashir, we would have finished you. But you have survived to see history in the making. And that history has been made. A case has been made. And the South Sudan is a country, a self-contained, but a fractious nation. A nation without parents. Parents are gone. A nation without brothers. Brothers have been wiped out through the conflict. Sisters have died. Mothers have died. A nation that needs rehabilitation, redemption, reconciliation. All these ingredients are needed. I therefore say this. If these options fail, my suggestion is the United Nations Security Council appoints a special envoy, because IGAD cannot get the money to sustain the soldiers in revitalized peace agreement. UN can be able to master the money, to get the money to pay for all this, for the soldiers to be able to be rehabilitated, redeployed. I want to ask candidly that if all these efforts which I mentioned first fail, please turn to the second option, and let there be a special envoy who has a mandate to execute some orders of the United Nations Security Council, and that will see a peaceful South Sudan come into existence. Thank you very much, my fellow panelists in Mombasa, Karen. Thank you very much for your patience for the last 3 hours. Thank you very much, Madam. We leave you in the situation at the coast so that you can go and do your swimming. Karen, are you there?
I'm here, Dr. I'm here. Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you very much, Professor Onyari. I want to thank you for your study tonight. Today you have stood firm up to the last minute, but you can see we have also compromised and come together with you. We are not very far from you. We need a fragile peace, however much it is. And I want to thank retired individual that you came in handy to spice this.
He did.
And the debate is huge.
You know, I was taking care of my cows, and I saw your post. You had sent it to me at 5. I didn't see. And
yes,
who can talk about South Sudan?
The general work.
Who can talk about South Sudan and I'm not there? I love South Sudan.
The legacy starts working at 4. I wake up at 4. That's why, whatever the general, you know it, you have been in the army. Generals don't sleep up to 8 o'clock. Yes, we wake up at 4 to honor, attacks. An attack to the barracks is done around 4:35.
Yes.
So I'm always awake. That's the time when it is want to steal my little mattress. So I am very awake and stable, waiting for anyone.
Now, Dr. Matsanga, as we go, I mean, we in the intelligence community, what amazed us as I close was how South Sudan has always blamed Bashir for their problems. Then God, in his mighty power, did what even Kenyan army and the region could never do for South Sudan. God sent a wave that removed Bashir from power. And then there was nobody in South Sudan to take advantage of that removal, cancel the oil contracts. They are still paying money for the pipeline to the port of Sudan for oil, whether they pump or they don't pump. South Sudan needs to wake up.
Thank you. All right, Doctor, thank you so much.
I just want to say
all right.
Also, thank you very much. We've done enough. I want to hand over to Miriam to if there is any word, you have one word, Professor.
Your last word.
Your last word, Prof.
We seem to be having a problem with the signal. Professor.
He has a problem.
He has
missed. He has missed
It was a heavy debate, and let us continue being concerned of what happened to our brothers in Africa. And by the help of God, what we say here, we're going to help them and save the continent of Africa from the shame.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And let's not allow South Sudan to be divided like they want to divide Libya. Back to you, Miriam. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Doctor. From that end of the Political Command Center, today we were having all that together, and thank you so much, the rest of our panelists. Daniel left the conversation earlier. Retired General Bijiwe there, and also Professor Nyari, and our correspondent from the coast there, and of course Doctor himself there. Thank you so much. Before we leave, we have the latest in terms of COVID-19 in the country. They have given the latest figures here in Kenya, and right now the country has registered 189 new COVID-19 cases in the last 24 hours. Highest number of fatalities, 12 people have died. This is the highest number of fatalities in the country recorded at once, and also 147 cases are from Nairobi. Out of the 189 cases that have been confirmed, 147 of these are from Nairobi. Kenya now has 10,294 confirmed cases. 65 patients have been discharged, and now we have a total of 2,946 people who have recovered from COVID-19 here in Kenya. Thank you so much. We shall see you here later in the afternoon with the Diaspora Dispatches. My name is Miriam Ogutu. A very good afternoon to you.
Peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.